Selvis Podcast.
Hello everybody, and if you've made it this far, I'm sure you've noticed that this isn't a traditional podcast this week. You'll notice that I, Cameron Miller, was not in the first half of this episode.
We missed it.
Yeah, I know. I figured you guys did. There's some scheduling issues this week. Paul insisted on attending a family reunion at the time we had preordained as the recording time this week. And I am basically 1 foot out the door right now anyway because I'm going on vacation essentially as soon as I'm done recording this. So take the low expectations you had for us in the beginning of this podcast run and just drop those even lower because I'm barely even with you at this point. But with me as always, the man who was committed enough to do both halves of the episode this week. Captain Canada himself with the power of extreme affability, Nelson Piper.
Hey there, listeners. How's it going? As always, I'm your bridge. Captain.
He is the, how do I want to describe you? He is the omniscient being that transcends both aspects of this podcast.
That's it.
How do you like that little, I'm basically giving you the role of God.
No pressure. I think I've done this before.
Yeah, low expectations, I'm sure. All right, without further ado, I'll jump into the thing that bugged me most this week. I was really excited to do this week because it's about the only thing good that came out of this situation was that I get to talk about it on here. So I get to kind of blow up a little bit. Now, granted, it's early in the morning for me, so I don't have quite the enthusiasm I might have had we been doing this later in the day. But, I just graduated college a few months ago, as I've made known to our listeners in previous episodes. So I'm kind of knee-deep in the throes of the job hunting circuit and interviewing. So I posted my resume on Monster a few weeks ago. And ever since then, I've gotten a couple hits and a little bit of feedback from potential employers. And I'm noticing a strange trend with it where I get a lot of these ones that, claim they want to bring people in and then there's quick room for advancement, 9 months to a management position and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I'm a little leery of, these things anyway. They seem very, pyramid schemey to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a little off-put when I see them, but I need the experience, so I took the interview and for this marketing firm based out of northern Michigan here this week. And like I said, I had low expectations. I didn't really expect to get the job, but when I got there, I was very, very upset at the situation that was unfolding in front of me. First of all, I have to drive about 2 hours from my house to take the interview because where my interview was actually an hour further north than where their office was located because apparently they do these functions within a 60-mile radius of their office.
So I was gonna say you got some commitment going there.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm probably not gonna take the job anyway, just based on this weird feeling I have about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted the experience, so I drove up there. And it's in a Sam's Club, which I find out. So I'm already all right, this is going even worse than I had previously anticipated. So I walk inside and they direct me to the back of the store, where the food area is, where in a Sam's Club they give out the free samples and stuff.
Okay.
So at the back, there's these, all the Sam's Club employees giving these samples away. And then there's this one booth that's giving away, gourmet pizza samples. And they're kind of, dressed up in, a little bit nicer garb, I guess you want to say. They're not, wearing the name tags of the Sam's Club and stuff. They're dressed in, black chef's aprons and whatever.
Yeah.
And this is where my interview is about to take place. So I'm literally being asked questions about basic marketing stuff. I mean, on my resume it says I have a bachelor's, but apparently they didn't understand the fact that I, actually took Com 101 when I was in college. So, what's the difference between, indirect marketing and direct marketing? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, because apparently I'm a complete fucking idiot. So I'm answering all their stupid questions, and meanwhile they're like taking these frozen pizzas and like putting olive oil on them and like grilling them on a flat top.
Oh, awesome.
So immediately I've lost all potential respect that there might have been for my immediate superiors if I took this job. So I was so incredibly disappointed by this situation. I don't even feel like I gained the experience I was looking for because
of a proper interview.
Yeah, of a proper interview, which was all I really, really wanted out of the thing anyway.
Yeah.
So basically, I just want to say, the next person who offers me an interview and doesn't take time to take off their plastic gloves and put down their spatula is going to get a square kick in the nutsack. Because I could not believe that they had me drive 2 hours, and maybe they didn't know I was driving that far, obviously, but 2 hours to take this just ridiculous interview. And keep in mind, I'm dressed to the nines here.
Yeah.
Trying to get a job, or potentially trying to get a job. So I'm standing next to a Sam's booth in, a shirt and tie and, clean shaven and all this. And meanwhile, they're over there like, hey, come to our pizza party, like screaming at all of the ridiculous members walking through Sam's Club.
Giving like their hoity-toity response to it and like, I don't need your gourmet pizzas.
Seriously, I mean, if you've seen some of the people walking through there, you're like, whoa, this is not a demographic I am looking to hit with my frozen pizzas.
Yeah, exactly. And just the fact of, I don't know, having those people looking down at you is that much more awkward.
Well, it's that. It's like, I could never do this job anyway for a multitude of reasons, even if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. Like the constant rejection you would face as I don't know,
just your one-on-one
direct salesman, yeah. Like, I've had a little bit of experience in the past with this kind of stuff, but every time I've had a situation like this, like, there's a reason that it's not like trying to hit multiple people. I'm talking like one-on-one with somebody, and there's a reason that they've sought me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason we're having this conversation. I'm not trying to draw you in. And then when you throw on top of the fact that I'm getting, like, looked down on by these people there that, like, outside of my job capacity, I would be like, who the fuck do you think you are? You're wearing fucking gym shorts and a cut-off tee. Freaking grocery shopping. Jesus.
See, now that's where I feel like I have some of that experience of getting rejected day in and day out for 2 years. For you listeners who don't know, I'm an LDS guy who went on one of those crazy missions where you avoid those people where you're like, oh gosh, Mormons, and and you get a lot of rejection. And honestly, like, the only way that I could describe it is you only will take that if you believe in what you're selling, so to speak. So if you're there, like what you're saying, Miller, where I'm today I gotta sell some gourmet pizzas at Sam's Club to these people that I just really don't want to take crap from. That's where I draw the line. Where I'm like, okay, I don't believe in this. I don't want this. I'm not trying. Like, if I don't use the product or I don't see the benefit of the product, then it's really not going to be something that I want to put myself out there to get the personal rejection from.
Yeah. See, I've got no problem with rejection. I face rejection on a daily basis when given my social life.
From my mom, my dad.
From my mom, my dad, from anyone else I try to talk to that I just clam up and can't socially interact with. But there's a payoff there. You know what I mean? Like I may fail 9 out of 10 times, but that last time, golden.
Yeah.
But whereas I'm selling pizzas, what's my upside? Oh, great. I just gave you a 6-pack of focaccia bread. Awesome. This is terrible. Not to mention the fact that I'm sure even if they did hire me, I would just make all the other employees I worked with miserable. with my can't do attitude and my constant obscenity stream spewing out of my mouth.
Nope. That's not gonna work.
You get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I could see that going very well for them.
Yeah. So,
But
probably mutually beneficial that I
you took
essentially
the high road
left.
on that.
I should have left like mid-interview, like not just turned around and walked away.
Don't even give them an option. Don't or say like I'm sorry. Just leave.
Please don't offer me a position. I have no interest in continuing with what you have going on here.
That's interesting stuff because like for me, I feel like those certain interactions right there. I'm a very calm and level-headed person. I will get on your same level. I will understand where you're coming from and be like, hey, I understand that you have to do this, or I understand that this is going on. Let me try to reason with you, kind of thing. And I do it a lot at the movie theater as well when we have upset guests. You try to level with people, and I think like, hey, me as Nelson Piper, I have a good temper. I don't have anything that I'm going crazy about, or like I get like this nervous twitch or anything like that after dealing with someone who's just incompetent. But I realize more and more that I do have this hidden rage that it's not going to like one day snap and I'm going to kill everybody, but I am constantly angry when I'm on the road. I have the worst road rage. Not as far as like attacking people, but I am a rather aggressive driver. I'm looking to shoot gaps and be in Fast and Furious as much as I can and really think of
Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, I'm just always in the car, just like white knuckle on my steering wheel and just squeezing as hard as I can when people are stupid. I'm like, come on. I'll get right behind people. I'm just not a fun person to drive with.
Do you constantly have a bird holstered ready to shoot at any moment?
Yeah, just at any
hey,
point.
Hey, buddy, how about this? You like this action?
Here you go. It's the worst. I really like my wife and other people notice quite a bit. They're like, you're driving pretty fast. You're pretty close behind that car. If they were to slam on their brakes, we would hit them. And I'd be like, yep, you're absolutely right. That's why they shouldn't do that. They should not be using their brakes on the freeway. But the thing that makes it worse for me is with my car, I have a Mercedes. I thought it was really nice when I got it. And it is a nice car, but about 6 months into having it, my AC goes out. And it's not just like it needs some Freon, here's like a $40 charge for you. It's like the entire Freon compartment exploded into your vents, so now everything's contaminated. You can't use your vents anymore. It's going to be $2,000 to replace everything. And I just like dropped my jaw and I'm like, well, looks like I'm going to be sweating for the foreseeable future. And it was the worst thing that could have happened to my road rage as well, because I will be coming home from work.
Because now you're just a hot, sweaty mess in your car.
I'm a hot, sweaty mess.
I've noticed too that when you have like a car issue, I've actually had like something similar, not my Freon explode and like leak deadly gases into my vent system. But I've had things happen where I've gone like extended period of times without having I went for a long time without having defrost in my car during the winter. But once something goes wrong with your car, you just don't give a shit about your car or anybody else's car because you're like, well, fuck it, it's already ruined. So that just completely amplifies that aspect.
Yeah, you're done. So that's where I just gotten worse. And this past week, I'll be coming home, and between like even when I come home late at night at 2 in the morning or 3 or 5 p.m., it's either 100 degrees or like 85. And so regardless of when I'm coming home, I am just sweating
balls
like nobody's business. And every time that I get on the freeway, literally it's 2 miles from my house that I get the worst traffic. I am in bumper to bumper traffic for about 10 minutes when I know that my house or my apartment is just a mile or two away from that point.
I gotta be honest. I didn't realize that there was that many people in Utah.
Oh, there is.
Of course, I guess you're close to the single epicenter of the entire state, right?
Yeah, Salt Lake City is where everything is quite literally happening. And hey, man, don't give them a bad rap. They're getting more people than Detroit now that they're filing for bankruptcy. But I guess we won't get into the politics. So we'll move on to a subject that I think everyone actually does want to hear about. And if you don't, you should. We're going to talk about the Nintendo Wii U. And
Wii U.
For Despicable Me 2 viewers out there. And I've played it a couple times. I don't own the system by any means. I haven't been super impressed with it or been just a super diehard fan of any specific game on the console to be like, this is for me.
Right.
And I know for you, that's a completely different story.
Well, we've kind of given the idea to our viewers over the last couple weeks here that I'm a huge Nintendo fanboy, which is accurate. I love Nintendo. I've loved Nintendo since I was a wee child, and I'm always gonna be a huge fan.
Indeed.
I don't like some of the things that they've done over the last 6, 7, 8 years, specifically with the Wii and now with the Wii U. But we mentioned this, I think, 2 episodes ago, where the first-party characters for Nintendo are second to none. They're characters that, a lot of us who play games, most of us actually, grew up with, and the stories still feel fresh, and the gameplay is still delivers, and it's still really entertaining, and they're games that you want. To this point, I haven't been overly enthused with my Wii U. I like the idea. I think it's interesting to have, basically they're going for a lot of what they went for with the 3DS, with the whole dual screen gameplay type thing. And it's cool. I do like it, but it hasn't really sunk in, and I haven't really felt a desire to use, or even really a need to use the tablet component yet.
Okay.
But a lot of that comes from the fact that there hasn't been a lot of game releases yet.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in a few more minutes here, and talk about where I think the Wii U can improve and stuff. But let's open the conversation a little here with the design and the controller and stuff, like we did with the last couple consoles.
Yeah.
Let's give it the treatment it deserves.
So if we're looking at the console, it really does look super similar to just the Nintendo Wii. I don't know if it's almost the same dimensions. Yeah,
it's a similar size. It's a little different. Obviously, this is HD compatible now. Required. So a little different in that respect. It's not it doesn't have the sharp edges of a,
of the stylized new PS4s and Xbox
or even
Ones
just
coming out,
or even the Wii U or the original Wii. It's a little bit more rounded than that. A lot more contemporary looking, I think. I think the console actually looks pretty nice. I like, that's one thing I can say about all 3 consoles so far, is they all have this really simplistic value to them.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that they didn't try and go over the top and make it look like a frickin' processor on a frickin' spaceship or something like that,
Yeah, they didn't make it out of this world, but I do like that the console itself, compared to the Wii U remote, they've actually integrated those features. I'm seeing the curved edges and the bevels and everything like that. And the controller and the console look like they go together.
Yes, they certainly belong.
Indeed.
I think that's true to say.
It's warranted. Now, if we're going to be moving on to the controller itself, it's a pretty intense controller. I think out of all of them, this is obviously the biggest change for any of the controllers.
Especially when you consider the controller from the previous generation's console.
Yeah, exactly.
This thing is in no way a Wiimote. It's completely different. I have issues with it. Again, there just isn't enough for me to play right now to give it's I can't even really give you a full review on it because I just haven't had to use the touchpad really.
Yeah.
There are issues beyond that I have with it. I don't love it because it's huge. It's a little bulky. I find it a little difficult to hold and control.
Yeah.
But there are alternatives as far as like they have a traditional style controller that just called the Wii U Pro controller that you can use for a lot of like first person shooters and that type of stuff. I actually did play a first person shooter on this console. I played Call of Duty on here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just because I didn't have anything to play. So I did pick that up, and it was a lot nicer having the Pro controller than having to like deal with the bulkiness of the tablet. My biggest complaint with it is there's two major complaints I have. One, the main one being the triggers on it.
Yeah.
They're not analog, and what I mean by that is when you hold a DualShock 3 in your hand and you're pressing the triggers, you know how you can depress it to different levels to determine rate of fire or speed in a racing game or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just a button. It's the same as it is. It's just the same as pressing down the A button or the X button on a PlayStation or whatever. Okay. It has no depth or anything like that. It's basically go and stop in a racing game. It's not choose your speed.
Yeah, I got what you're saying. That's frustrating.
Yeah, I don't like that aspect of it. I'm a little disappointed by that. The other thing is the touchscreen just isn't that good.
Yeah.
It's just it feels a little choppy. It looks a little meh. It's not. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad by any means. It's not like it's not like you're looking at 3DS quality graphics on there.
No, for sure.
It can support the whole gaming process of any game you have on there, like Super Mario Land, Wii U. You can play the whole game on your tablet and it looks fine. There's no issues there. When you touch it, it doesn't have like the smooth, hard finish of a tablet. It's got like this strange plastic mat thing over top of it, kind of. Where like if you press it with the stylus, it kind of gives the screen grip. Depresses a little bit, and it can leave a little bit of a mark and stuff. So I don't like it in that regard.
And for all you techies out there, the reason for that is because it's not a capacitor screen, it's a resistor screen. So I was going to ask you about that if you really felt like there was you can really tell the difference between what we use today in our smartphones compared to what it is on that screen. And glad you brought that up.
I totally can tell the difference. I'm not huge into the technical side of stuff, as we've said before, so I don't really know a ton about that. But
but you can tell.
This is you said this is a resistor screen?
Yeah. So
is a capacitor screen, is that one like you can't use styluses on that one, right?
No, on the capacitor you can use a stylus. I take that back. It's basically touch screen. You can get like a specific stylus that would have like that grip.
Right, like the soft-tip ones and stuff.
Yeah. But exactly as you said, it's a lot more like multi-touch technology with zooming, pinching in, all that stuff when like the iPhone 4 and 4S came out, and how many more pixels you can get onto the screen with high definition and all that jazz. So
I understand it in that regard, kind of, because they want the stylus, because sometimes you need precise movement and stuff, and they want you don't want to be like dragging your finger across it or whatever, which I mean you can do it that way, but it makes it a lot more convenient to have the stylus. So I understand that. And maybe in the long run it's not going to bother me. And it just the controller feels less luxurious, maybe is the word I'm looking for. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it's a great piece of hardware.
I gotcha. So when you
feels
look at
a little
the pictures,
clunky. Yeah.
The pictures make it look like that display is like crystal clear, but now that like I look at it from the pictures that I've seen and when I've used it, I honestly, the first time I put it in my hands, I got like a flashback, and this was like, oh, it's a white Game Gear. You know?
Yeah, you know what? It actually is. I actually, oddly enough, have a Game Gear sitting next to me right now that I have on my desk.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I know, right? Awesome. I know. I'm totally a cool hipster dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, you got a Sega Game Gear pouch.
I don't have my pouch anymore, but I used to have a pouch.
Okay,
I lost it.
That's
actually,
like your badge of honor.
Yeah,
okay?
Actually, the Game Gear that I have is my brother's.
Yeah.
His was black, so he got the cool one. I have. I don't know. I think I might have even sold it in a garage sale like years ago. Yeah. But I had a blue one, and it had a bunch of games, and it had like Sonic, Lion King, and a bunch of other crap in there.
Oh man.
Shinobi. That game was sweet.
Dude. Yeah. That's what we should be doing, folks. We're changing the whole topic of our podcast. It's all gonna
retro gaming. Now, this is the last thing I'll say about Game Gear. It is still the most expensive console to date because you will be investing upwards of $600 a year in batteries for that monster. 6 batteries at a time, and I think the console life is like 3 or 4 hours.
Yep, and that's rechargeable batteries. 600 rechargeable batteries. They burn through that quick.
Jesus. But anyway, what I was gonna say is it is comparable to the size of a Game Gear. The Wii U tablet is a little bit taller, but lengthwise it's similar. And obviously, it has a bigger screen.
Indeed.
That was the amazing thing about Game Gear was it's so freaking massive, and the screen was the size of a Game Boy.
Yeah, exactly. But it was way above its time. But going back to today, the Nintendo Wii U with the controller, obviously, for those who don't know, it's a 6.2-inch touchscreen tablet controller. We already talked about like the difference that you can even see and notice for those who aren't big techies or into the detail. You can tell on that display screen that it is different.
Yeah, and just if you have a tablet, like I have a Nexus 7, and when I look at that screen against the Wii U screen, I mean, you can see a visual difference, and then you can see a functional difference when you use both of them. I mean, it's very different.
And the last point that I wanted to, well, 2 things. I'll wrap it up here with the controllers. It has a built-in camera and microphone, so now you have the option of being cool and doing video chat and stuff like that. You can also like take your picture and it will auto-generate a me character from that picture. So that's a little cool software feature. I thought it was cool when it did my picture, and if you put it at like a different angle, sometimes it gets a weirder looking face. So
yeah, it's got some cool little nifty things. Nothing that you're probably ever going to use on a consistent basis, but something that is kind of cool to mess around with for a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not bashing the system. I like the system. It's not. I mean, we can probably just move on to it now and talk about the state of Nintendo a little bit. The first thing I'll say is it's not competing with Xbox One, and it's not competing with PS4. Yeah. I said this in past episodes, and I don't have Paul to sit here and beat me over the head for the next 20 minutes while I talk about it. So bonus for me, I guess. But Nintendo has a niche. It has people like me who are going to buy whatever they put out, no matter what mistakes they make, because I want the games that they are going to provide for that system. So I'm not gonna come on here and tell you while I'm gonna defend the Wii U, and I'm going to advocate that you buy one once a library gets built for it. I would not advocate for non-serious Nintendo fans that you go out and get a Wii U right now. Yeah. But once the library builds and you want something that's maybe a little more kid friendly or has an interesting gameplay mechanic, then I would recommend that you go get the system. And it is completely backwards compatible with your Wii. So if you've got a bunch of Wii games that you want, I mean, maybe you do want to go get it now. Then you can, then you have access to both. So I mean, that aspect of it is kind of nice. That's actually when I play games on it, the thing I use it most for probably right now is playing Smash Brothers on the Wii version, and I just play on there. See, although it does kind of suck because it doesn't have GameCube controller ports anymore. Piss me off.
You're screwed on that end. But the thing I wanted to talk about with the state of Nintendo is that Nintendo will always be in a great position in the gamer world, and at the same time, it is always in the worst position. It's in the best because if you're a gamer, chances are you grew up playing games, and if you're under the age of 15, you have no idea what a Nintendo 64 is, or hopefully someone in your life has told you, hey, you're not going to be playing the newest system yet, you're going to go old school, because that's what I'm going to do with my children. They're going to grow up with the whole evolution of gaming. They're going to start out with an NES when they're 4, and then they'll grow to 6 years old to a Super Nintendo. And that's my philosophy.
Yeah, until they get into school and they're like, hey, have you seen this super awesome Super Return of the Jedi Star Wars game?
Like, I don't
for
know what
Super
a flat
Nintendo?
screen is. But we've grown up playing things like Super Mario Brothers, The Legend of Zelda, Kirby's Dream Land, Donkey Kong, Star Fox. You've met and recognized yourself with these characters. I don't think anyone in the gaming industry or anyone who cares about this podcast is going to be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about when you say Super Smash Brothers. It's like, that is one of the best games you will ever play in your life. If you
don't know what Super Smash Brothers is, I need you to get off this podcast right now. I don't want anything to do with you.
But that's the other thing is Nintendo's in that great position. You have things that people will buy the system and they recognize themselves as Nintendo players at one point or another in their life. It's not this complete polar opposite of like Ford and Chevy with the PS4 and Xbox One. It's Nintendo is your base. Everyone has it. And that's the downfall as well for Nintendo is anything that Nintendo does, everyone automatically nitpicks because everyone who loves Nintendo thinks that they know what's best for Nintendo.
Yeah. It's an interesting place in the industry where they stand. The Wii U sold more consoles than any console last generation.
Yeah.
It was the highest selling of all of them.
Really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now that's worldwide.
Okay.
I don't know the exact numbers on it.
Yeah.
But I would be foolish to believe if I think it was the number one selling console in America.
Yeah.
But so that, like I was saying, there's always this fan group of Nintendo. And the reason there is because of those games you were talking about that we all grew up with. Say what you will about what they're doing with the console and what they're doing development wise and how they're doing in the third party landscape, which is not great. But they make great first party games.
Yeah.
I've said this before too, I know, but I love Uncharted on PS4. I love all those titles, The Last of Us, Jack, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, whatever. All of those first party things are great. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to play all of them. But if you're asking me to choose between those and playing even like one Mario game or playing the next Metroid or playing the next primarily even probably Zelda.
Oh yeah.
I'm taking those games every day of the week and twice on Sundays. I will never not play those games. And if you have any questions about where Nintendo is as a game developer, just look at Smash Brothers. I know I talk about it a decent amount on here, but
yeah.
It's this complete amalgam of everything they've ever done right in their past video games. It's just a complete fan service, and it's just awesome. It is my favorite franchise in video games. The game is not due out for another year or so at this point, maybe even a year and a half, and already they're doing like daily updates on the website. And I did this exact same thing before Brawl came out. Every morning before I went to school, I would get on Smash Brothers website and check like what new update they released or what new thing they were showing us. And I'm doing it again now.
Yeah.
There's no franchise that I care about more than that one. And I'm not even a huge fighting game guy, but it's such a throwback and a love note to all the fans that I just love that series. And if you, like I was going to say, if you have any questions about how well they can create a franchise like that.
Yeah.
Look at what Sony did this last year with PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. I mean, I messed around with that game for a while. I mean, it was essentially, their competitor to Smash Brothers. Not that I think they thought they would compete on the same level with it, but it's not even close. The gameplay is it's not even remotely comparable. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that because it's like they tried to make it different. Because I mean, the game, there are different like gameplay mechanics to it, but the game itself is basically like just a complete rip.
Yeah.
And it's not even close to as good. So Nintendo knows what they're doing with these first-party franchises.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they're just amazing games. The problem comes in the aggregate where they don't have the third-party support because they're not running they're not using a system that's as powerful as its competitors, or as approachable to developers as their competitors. It's a big hassle when you can just take Xbox One and PS4 and make a game and essentially, port them. Yeah. And then when you have to redesign a new control figure or a new aspect for, like, the touchscreen and stuff. Mm-hmm. So that stuff, I understand why Nintendo does it, because they know they have me in their back pocket. I'm always going to buy it. But they're trying to do things because they're just a game studio. They don't have, like, all the income from all this other stuff that Microsoft and Sony does. They just make games. So they can't compete on the same production. If they can't create a system that's as powerful as Sony for as cheap as Sony wants to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
Nintendo came out and made a system that was comparable to Xbox One and PS4, it's probably going to be $600.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they have to make up their costs somewhere, and they can't produce on the same scale as those two companies. So I understand what they're doing. I get it. I wish it wasn't that way, because I would love to play Mario and Zelda games that look like, Uncharted games. Yeah. But they have to make up the numbers somewhere. And they do it in the family market.
Yeah, for sure.
Where they have all these lesser known games, but they're like kind of like mini game. Not even all of them are like mini game-esque or whatever, but just these like pick up and play type games that you can have. You can just
get with a group.
Right. And party games, and it just appeals to that, demographic a little better. So I understand that.
Yeah, they really have nailed like the entire gambit of people. You could have a 3-year-old playing it, and you could have like a 90-year-old person playing it, and both of them getting the joy out of it. That, like, my grandparents, they bought a Nintendo Wii when they first came out, just because, hey, the Wii's cool. It's something that we could play with our grandkids, kind of thing. And I don't know, they have such a crazy mark. If anything, you can say what you will about like their marketing and things like that, but the very fact that you can go into or any conversation with someone and be like Mega Man, Mario, Zelda, and you get a perception.
Mega Man was with Sony for a while.
Oh, okay.
But original Mega Man, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he will be in the next Smash Brothers, for those of you that don't know, which is fucking amazing.
It's the beast.
It's the beast. He's the beast. But I will. There is one thing I wish they would have changed, and they probably know better than me. And I think that this change would have helped maybe in the American market, but seeing as it was the number one selling console, I mean, maybe you want to stick with it. I wish they had changed the name of the console.
Okay.
Because when you stick with Wii, you just bring up kind of the memories of the original. Yeah. And it's just something that I would have wanted to distance myself from, was complete motion gaming. And they did it with, the actual gameplay and stuff. They actually gave me a controller this time, which I appreciate in and of itself. But I wish they would have moved away from that, and I think it would have done better in the American market. Mm-hmm. But then again, maybe it did so well in Japan. Maybe you just want to stick with it. So I understand that. Mm-hmm. But that was just one thing I wish that they would have changed.
Now, my question for you, when I've played it, the thing that I found upsetting or frustrating was you can only use one of those tablet controllers per console. Like, if you're going to be playing multiplayer, you can only use one of those.
Well, like we were talking about before, the library isn't huge right now.
Yeah.
So there's no need for multiple tablet controllers and stuff. But when the console launched, they were saying you can't buy the tablet controllers, which I think are going to retail for $150 when they eventually become available. At least that was the impression I got, was eventually they would be available to get more than one.
Yeah.
But they shoot, I lost my train of thought here. It's early, people. Get off my case.
Jeez.
But they couldn't produce like enough units to allow everyone to purchase more than one.
Okay.
So that was the reason for not allowing, not having games in the opening market here that would require two controllers. At least that was my understanding. So I think that's something that's going to be available down the line once the library grows. One game where I think you might see it is when Mario Kart comes out. Because a lot of the application that I've heard from Mario Kart is your tablet screen is like your back view.
Okay.
So once the tablet becomes like an integral function and it's not just like a map screen for games or an inventory screen for games, then I think you'll see them start to roll out more and maybe allow for purchase of additional controllers. But $150 for a controller ain't no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard sell, because what do you need two for except for multiplayer gaming? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're not playing local multiplayer, then there's no reason to buy two. You know what I mean?
At the same time, I feel like if you have multiple people that have that console and want to play together, they're going to be bringing theirs. And that's the thing that I was really, or what I'm looking for, is for them to say, yeah, granted, okay, you could buy a second one if you wanted to, but really, we just want to let you know that you can use your Wii remote from your console and bring it over to someone else's, and you're gonna work just fine.
And I don't know if that's the case, though. I don't know. I've never played. I've never. Again, there's not really a game to do it on, but I've never had someone who I know who has a Wii U like bring their controller over here and like try and use it on my Wii. I don't know how that works. I assume that the controller that comes with it is the only one that's functional with it at the moment. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. That's just going to be something that...
it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens down the line here. So, I don't know. Well, with that, I think we should probably move on to the games, which is starting to have a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel here. As we've gone through.
Now that it's been a year.
Yeah, now that it's been almost a calendar year, we're looking at, came out in November, so we're looking at 9-ish months right now of release.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing out for it is still probably Nintendo Land or Super Mario Brothers Wii U that came both launch day titles. So,
indeed.
A little disappointing in the first year. Paul brought this up an episode or two ago. But they've had a whole year to kind of get people in front of the next gen, and they did. They kind of dropped the ball on that. I won't argue that point at all. But things are starting to look better. Starting next month, I believe we have. In fact, I know it is because Pikmin comes out at the beginning of the month. But starting next month, we have at least one major release. I know until the end of the year, and I think going into like maybe March of 2014. But we have Pikmin 3, we have The Wonderful 101, which is a new IP, but I've seen a little bit of gameplay. IGN's actually posted some stuff this week from San Diego Comic-Con, some gameplay stuff, and it looks pretty cool. I'm actually pretty excited for it.
Gotcha.
We'll probably talk more about that in a later episode, but it does look pretty cool, so I'm pretty excited about that one. Then we have they're redoing Wind Waker, which a lot of people, you can say, well, it's just a remake, it's not even a new game, blah blah blah, which is true. They might have new levels, some of the stuff that they left out from the original release. That would be pretty awesome if they did. Some
AMP graphics for sure.
Yeah, there'll be updated, cel-shaded graphics and all that stuff. It'll still be the same art style, but updated graphics. I personally am super pumped about it because I love Wind Waker. It's probably my second or third favorite Zelda game of all time, which is saying something because I love all of them.
Yeah.
All 25 or however many there are now. And then beyond that, at the end of the year, we've got the new Mario Brothers coming out. Or not, it's not new Mario Brothers, I'm sorry. It's a new 3D Mario, Super Mario Land.
Yeah.
And super excited about that. Again, a lot of people will tell you that Mario is just, it's the same game all the time, new levels, whether it's 3D Mario or it's side-scroller Mario. But I don't care.
It's Mario.
Yeah, it's Mario. Great. You want to add more levels of the greatest game, one of the greatest games ever. Oh, yeah, I'm so disappointed.
Yeah.
So
you guys are horrible. You're the worst people ever.
Jerks.
I'm looking forward to the Resident Evil Revelations, or just actually finally playing it, because you have on the Wii U the zombie game. I can't remember what it's called.
Zombie U.
Zombie U, yeah.
Very big disappointment, Zombie U.
Now, the thing that I liked about it was that when you get into a dark room, if you move your controller tablet around, you will actually see different things. So there's been a couple times where that thing was up in my face, and I'm like, oh crap! There's a zombie right in front of me.
I do like the integration of the functionality of the controller there. It's nice to have games that are just using it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So it's nice to just see it in action. Another game I did forget, it comes out in September, is Rayman Legends, which was originally supposed to come out in launch window and was originally going to be an exclusive, and now it's not, and that kind of gets into the third-party stuff they were talking about. That's kind of disappointing. Yeah. But I played Rayman Origins, and that game is freaking awesome, and this game looks just as good. If you love side scrollers, then you need to play Rayman, because it is. I didn't like it originally when Rayman was kind of on PlayStation in the early days and stuff. I didn't really like the character and stuff.
Yeah.
But that last installment and this one look awesome. It's got this really, really funny edge to it, kind of slapstick humor type stuff that's pretty funny. And the gameplay is awesome. And for what it is, just a side-scroller 2D type game, it's gorgeous, the art design.
Yeah.
It's really lush, beautiful environments, really good character models. It's very cool. So I'm super excited about that one. And then in the following year, first quarter, we have Mario Kart 8 coming out, which is always awesome. I can never get enough Mario Kart, so I'm super pumped for that. I'm sure a lot of people listening to the podcast have had a lot of drunken nights at college where you're sitting around and playing Mario 64. So what's wrong with more installments of that?
Indeed.
Mario Kart. And then the big one for me of all of them is Smash Brothers is next year. And like I said, I'm already doing daily monitoring of that system or of that game, and I cannot wait. You could throw everything I want to play for the next couple months out of the window and tell me I can never play them if you handed me a copy of Smash Brothers right now.
Yeah.
I love the franchise. I love the game so much, and I'm really excited. They have a new developer team on this one, but the gameplay still seems to be intact. I was a little nervous at first, but it still seems to be the same thing, and I'm super, super, super pumped for it.
I really feel like...
And we're getting a 3DS version, which
is going to be legit.
Which is going to be awesome. And by the way, if you don't like the Wii U, then fine. But the 3DS is one of the best consoles going right now. Yeah. I would make a case that right now it's as strong as any home console at the moment.
Indeed.
It is blowing up.
They have the best portable game device by far. I mean, you look at
it's not even close.
You get the 3DS. Once, if people are like, oh, it gives me a headache trying to get it into 3D, it's like, once you get it, I don't go back. See,
I don't even really use the 3D thing that much.
Which is great, too. You can shut it off for viewers who don't know.
I just love the games that are on it. Now, it is cool for some stuff. I like to turn it on and mess around with it for a little while. But you can't sit there and play with the 3D on for hours on end because your eyes will just be like, oh, my God, what the hell are you doing to me? But the games on it, I mean, you don't need it. Like I've already talked about on the podcast. I'm like, I don't know, probably at this point, an entire month's worth of hours into Animal Crossing. So,
see, when you said that about your eyes, I just pictured like your pupils having their own like conversation with each other. Like, this guy's going crazy. Like, I don't know how much more we can take of this. We better get an aneurysm soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Then they just like have a seizure in my head, and then I just have to shut it off. That's their way of letting me know, like, hey, dude, no more 3D.
We need a break. The left eye, come on. Let's be honest. You never gave that thing the proper amount of training it needed.
Well, I do have a lazy left eye.
Oh, ooh, gosh.
Yeah.
I just really brought up a sore spot there.
Not anymore. It's not like my eye just wanders off. When I was a young child, I had to wear a patch over my right eye to strengthen the left one. Now it's almost where it needs to be.
Oh man, it's like Rocky training,
Yeah.
Just
yeah, it's like my
cows.
right eye was Brooks Meredith, Come on, Rock.
You can do it. Adrian. That's really all that comes out of that guy's mouth. I try listening to that dude. I'm getting off topic here. At any rate, that basically wraps it up for the Nintendo Wii U. We have some exciting things coming out, some really set in stone things that when you hear about it, you're going to want to play them. You're definitely going to want to take a look at this. We just passed it, actually. They just did a little demo at GameStop for Pikmin 3. Happened on Saturday and Sunday, which I unfortunately wasn't able to go to or take a look at. But for all of you who are interested in gaming, who actually listen to the second half of our podcast here, the Wii U is something that you're definitely going to want to take a look at. And now, if you haven't tried it yet, this is the time to get it, because stuff is coming out for it, just like Cam, you were saying. So for everyone out there, if you need any more information, just go to Nintendo.com and look up Wii U, and they'll give you everything. So
anything that we didn't cover or fulfill your needs on. Now,
Yeah.
I am sure this week, this is just a note to you, that everyone will be listening to the second half of the podcast, as they didn't get the smooth, soothing, dulcet tones of Cameron Miller in the first half this week.
Oh, indeed.
So I'm sure I have a strong carryover effect, I'm sure.
Indeed.
I just need you guys to make it known that I'll be in the second half.
Yeah. We'll be like, we got Cameron coming on the second half. I mean, you guys can listen if you want, but it's garbage.
I can't wait to listen to the full podcast on Tuesday and just hear
The full
that shit.
thing. It's going to be interesting to hear, viewers. You're going to hear the final piece, but really right now I'm Quentin Tarantinoing this sucker. And
we are recording the second half first this week.
It's really melding my mind. I can't.
Mind-blowing.
Can't handle it, but
hold on. Before we move on, I just want to give up my wrap-up comments on Wii U. And just kind of summarize everything we've done to this point. Like I said earlier, if you don't have any interest in the games that are out right now, or you don't have a large Wii library you can transport over, I probably wouldn't recommend buying it right now. There is one feature, though, that we didn't talk about that I can probably bring up, is you also do have the whole Virtual Console library.
Yeah.
The Wii U side is still like getting all the titles out and stuff, but you can go and play and buy all the ones that were on Wii.
You can play every Mega Man ever.
Yeah, pretty much. All the ones that were on Nintendo anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has great features, and the console itself really does a fan service. Nintendo knows where its bread is buttered, and it gets all these classic games we want to play. Like, I just bought, like a couple weeks ago, Super Metroid for 30 cents. That's one of the greatest games of all time. So
and the fact that they aren't making you pay through the nose to get it is great.
Yeah, they usually offer you a monthly deal. It's usually a pretty decent game for 30 cents. Then you just pick it up and start playing, and it's super fun. And it's nice to be able to just play, the classic games on the tablet screen. You can do whatever else you want on your TV.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, I like the console. I don't love it yet, but it hasn't hit its stride, and it hasn't given me the games I want.
Yeah.
So not yet, anyway. But I fully anticipate that if we have a conversation about the Wii U in a year from now, maybe a year and a half, depending on when Smash Brothers gets released.
Yeah.
I will be all in. just like I always am with Nintendo. So, in my eyes, they can do wrong, but they can never do enough to make me leave. I just can't quit you, Nintendo.
Now, that wraps it up. You just can't quit you, Nintendo.
Yep.
We're gonna go to the very final part of this podcast. We're gonna talk about some recommendations here, and I'm gonna start off with my first one here. And for all of you who cannot handle crazy intense action scenes, these two recommendations are actually two things that I have not viewed yet, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't see them, because I will be seeing them in the very near future. Two things that were recommended to me was two movies. The first one, Only God Forgives. It is a smaller production. It's not out in nearly anything. I don't even know how many theaters it's actually out on. I don't have a stat on that one. But the movie is, it's just incredible. It's starring Ryan Gosling. So right there, off the bat, everyone should go see it.
So 60% of the budget out the window already, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically just Ryan Gosling doing his thing, but it's done. The director is Nicholas Refn. I don't even know how to say his name. He's from like Sweden, but he also did Drive and Bronson, which was a critically acclaimed, amazing movie, Bronson. But this movie is very comparable to Drive in the feel of it, just from the trailer that you see. But in Drive, there's like about 5 to 10 minutes of that movie where it's just super intense gore, where you turn away because it's very intense. And I was just told that this movie is basically like those 5 to 10 minutes of intense moments the entire way through, and there's about 5 to 10 minutes where it's not like that. Ryan Gosling, though, amazing actor. He only says about 30 words in the show, so you're not going to get his suave talking by any means. You just get his blatant stares and punches. So it's something worth seeing if you're fine with the gore. If you're watching the show Dexter, this show will be a walk in the park. But the final movie that I do want to say everyone needs to go see is The Way, Way Back. I have yet to see it. I'm going to this week, and I'll let you know what it's like. But The Way, Way Back, from what I've heard, is just incredible. And there's and I take this from a reasonable, solid source. His name's Carl. He's one of the people that I work with, and I hold his opinion very near and dear to my heart. But he just kind of talked about the show. It's a coming-of-age movie. Everyone loves those. If you don't, you don't have a soul. But there's a part in the show where she's like, one of the main characters says a joke, and it just has like these 3 layers of like funny that he describes. Of when he finally like understands what the joke is, he gets the joke, and then he really puts all of the joke together. So it goes from like a oh and just escalates to the top of your laughing meter that you can do. But she's like, she called me a see you next Tuesday, and you're just trying to like put that together, and you're like, oh, see you, so you're getting the spelling, and then next Tuesday you're like, what, that doesn't work, and then you're like,
the initials.
You're like, oh, NT, and then you're like, oh, it's a sentence. See you next Tuesday. Oh my goodness, that it just ties the joke
layers.
Together. So many layers. But the show itself, from the recommendations that I got, it's a great show. It's really funny, and it's starring Steve Carell, and you're gonna have to help me remember the name of the guy. He's in Iron Man 2. He's the main.
Oh,
antagonist.
Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell.
He does a really great job of just taking this kid under his wing, and it's a gut-wrenching story. So,
also in Seven Psychopaths. Sam Rockwell,
yes,
which was quite funny. I enjoyed that movie as well.
Indeed. So go see him. Only God Forgives and The Way, Way Back. That's my recommendations.
Sweet. Mine is another TV show. I gave a little love to HBO last week with The Newsroom. There's another show I'm watching on Sunday nights right now called Ray Donovan. It stars Liev Schreiber. and John Voight of Anaconda fame, maybe. Well, he's done tons of stuff, but
yeah.
This show 3 episodes in, or no, I think this Sunday will be 3. So actually later tonight when we're recording.
Gotcha.
It is very intense. Basically, Liev Schreiber plays a fixer out in California, and for those of you that don't know like what a fixer is, he takes like celebrity problems and gets creative solutions and gets people off their back and stuff. Whether that involves murder or any other kind of dynamic. Like in the very first episode, I'm not ruining anything for anybody who hasn't seen it or wants to watch it, but
yeah,
you find somebody has a dead woman in their bed, and he has to find a way to keep that out of the press and put a little bit of a spin on it. So situations like that, and then John Voight plays his father, and they have an estranged relationship. It's very good. The acting is terrific. Those two in particular are very good together. There's a lot of chemistry, and there's a lot of tension between them, which is very interesting to watch. And I would totally recommend it. This is the first Showtime show that I've really gotten into. I haven't been watching Dexter.
Oh.
It's something that I'm going to have to go back and watch once it all comes out on Netflix.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'll love that show as well. But this is the first one on Showtime I've really sat down and gotten into, and to this point I love it, and I think it's just going to get better and better. So I'm very hopeful for it, and I'm very enthralled with it at the moment.
Yeah.
So that is my recommendation for the week.
All right there, folks. Well, that wraps it up for this week's podcast. Thank you all for listening. As always, you can follow Cameron, Paul, and myself on Twitter at CameronMiller00, White Pressure, and Please Piper. Or like our Facebook page at facebook.com/WCSTpodcast.com. Next week, we'll be talking about Wolverine and if it lives up to the hype of all the other X-Men movies. Another A-list review of a horrible Netflix movie that you put us through. And Caitlin Moore will get her wish to hear Cameron give us a scoop on Poultrygeist's horrible ballads. We're also going to be talking about Comic-Con next week and everything to get excited for this upcoming year of 2014. So keep up on the blog to see more of what's coming next week. On Thursday, you'll know for sure what horrible Netflix movie we'll be reviewing. Go to the site, WCSTpodcast.com, and ask us what you want our blog post to be about. Be our director. And we're out. Adios.
See ya.